Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector and Nintendo don't, which is probably why they're still making consoles to this day. It's just a quick play on words. When I think about the rivalry between Nintendo and Sega Genesis, I always remember that commercial. Sega does what Nintendo don't. Well, maybe Sega shouldn't have either. They'd be in a little bit of a different position today, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about a pickup that I got for the Xbox, Metal Slug 3. I was actually really glad to pick this up. Got this one for about 18 bucks. And the reason why I'm showcasing this game is because there's been a lot of talk about having an all killer and no filler collection. In fact, this is something that I touched on the other day, and I think Heck and Steve kind of touched on it as well. And that's what I'm going to be going for in 2025. All killer, no filler. Now, everybody has a different definition for what they determine to be filler versus killer. And, you know, it's obviously a subjective statement and a subjective thought process, right? Because what is killer to one person might be straight garbage to another person. And I think that all really just depends on you know, what your taste is in games. If we were to look at it from purely a value standpoint, though, one could objectively put a price point on what would be considered filler versus killer. One might say any game under $10 is filler. One might say any game under $20 is filler. However, I feel like there are so many games that are less than $20 that are just straight killer. I think there are some games that are less than $10 that are just straight killer. And it really just depends, again, on what your taste level is. But what I want to showcase is about 5 games that I would consider killer without these games having 50, 60, 70, 80 and up dollar price tags on them. Not every killer game has to be $100. Not every killer game has to be super rare. But I think what helps to make a game killer is, one, how unique is it? How often do you see it out in the wild? Is it something that's ready and available all the time? That would be one thing. Another thing would be, is it a very how would I say it? Mass? Was it widely produced? You know, obviously we know what the rare games are. We know the games that are, you know, super rare are the games that, you know, usually go for a lot of money. But there are games that aren't necessarily rare, but you still, you know, you still may only be able to get them online. Are they exclusive to their consoles, right? Is it a game that you can't play on multiple consoles? Can you only play it on the PlayStation 2? Can you only play it on the N64? I think that also helps. And then, you know, is it a game that's ever gotten a remaster? There's so many different things that can make a game killer, but I'm going to showcase about 10 games that are between the price ranges of, I would say, between $10 and $20, maybe less, that I would consider games that are killer in my collection. And I would think that moving into 2025, when you say all killer, no filler, if you're thinking about removing the filler out of your collections, removing filler out of your collection would be the multiple copies of NBA 2K, right? No one's playing NBA 2K12. You can get rid of that. The multiple copies of Madden, the multiple copies of NHL hockey, you know, the multiple copies of, unless you're really into Skylanders, but Skylanders, you know, the Lego games, unless you're super into Lego games, right? Any kid games, you know, the Mahjong games, you know, like the board games, games that just typically are not games that would really get more than one play, right? I'm thinking if you're wanting to get rid of filler out of your collection, that's probably the stuff that you're wanting to get rid of. The sports titles, the kiddie titles, the no-name title games that just are absolutely boring, right? Games that are just flat out not good. Games with horrible graphics, right? Games that are short. Games that don't have enough content. Those are the games that you're wanting to get rid of. I'm going to show you games, and I have a game for about 5 different systems that I'll share with you, and I'll start with Metal Slug 3. Now, I picked up Metal Slug 3 because, one, I'm a huge fan of the run and gun genre. I'm a huge fan of run and gun shooters. And this is a 2D side scrolling shooter that is a part of the Metal Slug family. Now, even though it says only on Xbox, Metal Slug 3 was only available on Xbox at the time that it came out. Now, I do believe that originally this was available on the Neo Geo because Metal Slug is an SNK game. So it was available on the Neo Geo, but by them saying only on Xbox, I think it meant that it was only on the Xbox in terms of the major consoles that were available during the sixth generation, which would have been the PlayStation 2, the GameCube, the Xbox, and the Dreamcast. So if you were looking to play this game on like PlayStation 2 or Dreamcast or GameCube, you were not going to be able to do it. You had to get it on the Xbox. Now, since then, Metal Slug 3 has gotten a re-release through Limited Run. And you can get this game, I believe, on the PlayStation 4 now. You can also get it on the PlayStation Vita at this time. So there's more than one way to play this game outside of just playing it on the original Xbox. However, this is kind of one of those more unique titles that I don't often see out in the wild, and it's a really good game. Metal Slug has some of the best 2D graphics out of 2D sprite-based games. It's got some of the best music. The sound effects are amazing, and the characters are great. And more importantly, the series is just nostalgic to me. I played a ton of Metal Slug in the arcades, and for 18 bucks, I think that that's a steal of a deal in terms of value. So a game like Metal Slug is definitely one that I would consider filler, and it's a game like this that I would replace my third copy of NHL 97, right? I would get NBA 2K10 out of the way and make room for Metal Slug 3. Another game that might be beneficial to check out is Dragon's Crown. Now, granted, Dragon's Crown does have a PlayStation 4 release, and you can play Dragon's Crown there. But the thing that I like about having Dragon's Crown on the PlayStation 3 is that this version of it does come with what? A manual, right? So it's something like this that I would pick up. Now, I'd probably sell my copy of Infamous 2, and I'd probably just replace that with the Infamous series, right? Get it all on one disc. I think there's like an Infamous collection. But Dragon's Crown is also a game that's not very expensive, a game that's easily under $20, but it's an awesome 2D side-scrolling hack-and-slash game with RPG elements and some amazing graphics because this is a Vanillaware style game, so you know the artwork is this hand-drawn style, which looks amazing, and it's an Atlas game. So this is another one of those games that's not very expensive, but is, in my opinion, killer. This is a killer game. The presentation is great, and if you want to get this game with a manual, the PlayStation 3 is going to be the way to go. All right, now we have the PlayStation 2. Here goes another game that I would consider filler. Now, granted, The Incredible Hulk is not exclusive to the PlayStation 2. It did get an Xbox and GameCube release. However, in my opinion, the PlayStation 2 is the best way to play this game. And I don't say that a lot about the PlayStation 2 because you all know that I have my issues with PS2 graphics. However, The Incredible Hulk is a very fun game. In fact, this might be one of the best, if not the best, Hulk game out of all the Hulk games that we've seen. Incredible Hulk on the PlayStation 3 is great because it does have great graphics, but if you're just looking to Hulk smash a bunch of stuff, this is going to be the way to go. If you're looking for some hard-hitting action, classic Hulk style, this might be the one to grab. And in my opinion, I would definitely replace, I don't know, a bunch of copies of Kingdom Hearts maybe with The Incredible Hulk, especially since you can get all of the Kingdom Hearts games, I think, on one compilation disc. If I'm wrong, you guys can let me know down in the comments. But in my opinion, the Hulk is definitely a game that I would consider killer. Now, I don't know if this one is actually under 20. I picked my copy up for about 18 bucks, but I've seen this go for above 20 here and there. I know it's definitely under 30, but this is definitely one of those more affordable games that's a ton of fun on the PlayStation 2 and one that you can thoroughly enjoy. This, to me, is killer. Then we have the Xbox 360. So for the Xbox 360, you got Way of the Samurai 3. Now, if you like those kind of not slow-paced, but more steady-paced, kind of hack-and-slash style games, I'm a hack-and-slash fiend. Way of the Samurai 3 is definitely the way to go, especially on the 360. This is a game that's no more than 25 bucks. I wouldn't pay more than 25 bucks for Way of the Samurai 3, but it's a really good hack and slash style game. It's an action adventure game and one that I would definitely check out. And you can replace your extra copy of 360 Connect, right? With a decent hack and slasher. Now, maybe you're not into hack and slash games, but there are tons of really good RPG games that could still be considered killer on the Xbox 360. You've got games like Lost Odyssey. You've got games like Infinite Undiscovery. Um, a number of RPGs. I don't know a ton because I'm not the RPG master. You'd have to go and check out my JRPG life to see what some of the best RPGs it would be. But if you're looking for RPGs, there's definitely some pretty good ones on the 360 that won't break the bank. But if you're a hack and slash action style guy like me, Way of the Samurai is definitely a good option. And then lastly, let's talk about the GameCube. In my opinion, Beautiful Joe. Now again, Beautiful Joe is another one of those games that's not exclusive to the GameCube. There was a PlayStation 2 version of Beautiful Joe for both Beautiful Joe 1 and Beautiful Joe 2. However, Beautiful Joe does play very nicely on the GameCube. I prefer Beautiful Joe on the GameCube myself. But a lot of times when we think about GameCube, we think about the Mario parties, the Gale of Darknesses, the Pokemon Coliseums, the Mario Karts, the Zeldas, the Twilight Princesses, and the all the the Ikarugas and all of those different types of games for the GameCube. And we also think about the GameCube as being an expensive console to collect for, just because there's that invisible GameCube tax that you have to pay on all their games. They just always seem to be a little bit more expensive than other games. But Beautiful Joe is a game that's right at that $30 price point, between 28 and 29 bucks, and you could pick up a very good side-scrolling beat 'em up game. I really like Beautiful Joe, and I love the slowdown factor, the 2D slowdown factor of this game. I think that's really the part that sells Beautiful Joe for me, and it's because of Beautiful Joe why I was a huge fan of a game called Katana Zero. I am praying that they come out with a physical version of Katana Zero. I can guarantee you, if they do come out with a physical version of that game, I will be first in line to pick that up. And if you've never played Katana Zero, go download that game tonight and play it. Pause the video right now. In fact, you can stop watching the video right now. Go find Katana Zero, download it, and play it. From the second I started playing that's like one of the few games that I started playing it and couldn't put it down until I beat it, just because of the story. Katana Zero has a very, very interesting story. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I will tell you that one of the features of the game is that the main character does have the ability to slow down time, kind of like the way it does in Beautiful Joe. Katana Zero is an amazing game. They need to make a physical version of that game. I don't know why they haven't made a physical version